Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. Certainly glad to have you today. And as always, we want to thank BTC Fiber for hosting our program. And you can see these interviews on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as their cable channel 18. And we want to thank Needful Things General Store for sponsoring our program. And they're just north of the Bethel Church of Christ on Highway 127. Go by and check them out. They might find something there that you might need, or you might not need it, but you just want it. So go by and check them out. We appreciate them. And today we have with us Michelle W. Collier. I'll put that in. You make sure I got it right. Of Collier and Company Realty, LLC. Michelle, it's good to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Well, let's do a little background before we get into what we want to talk about today.
Sure.
And a lot of that is like, how long have you been in real estate?
Well, I've been in real estate almost 20 years now, just right at 20 years. And I was a photographer before I was a realtor. But when everything went digital and everybody ended up with a camera in their hand, I gave up the photography and went into real estate. And so I've worked several places. But right now I am my own broker and owner of Collier and Company Realty, LLC.
And being a broker actually is a little better. It's kind of a step up, isn't it?
Yes, you have to be a realtor, an affiliate realtor for 3 years before you can sit for the broker's exam, and which I did, and I brokered for other companies before going into business for myself. Got some experience under my belt, and kind of figured out how I wanted to run a business. And then Marshall, my son Marshall, of course we have a daughter, Mary, as well, and but Marshall had to graduate from high school, and he has autism. And Marshall is, I won't tell my age, but he's 32 now. And so for ever since I've been able to stay home and have my office here at the home, Marshall has been the company part of Collier and Company Realty. He goes with me if I need him to, and he navigates for me, and we just work it out the best that we can. I can leave him here at home for a little while and go do things that are local, and otherwise he can travel with me. And there's just not a lot for kids like Marshall to do, or young people that have graduated like Marshall. There's nothing much for them to do here in the county, so we had to make some adjustments, and it's worked out wonderfully. Just very successful.
Well, that's good that you can actually be home with him and operate your business.
It is.
That's a plus.
God blesses us so much every day. It's unbelievable. I get calls every day. People wanting me to sell properties and homes for them, and people looking for properties and homes to buy. So God is so good.
Well, that's good, because I know the real estate's been kind of crazy the past couple of years with a lot of people coming from out of state. And
yes,
and I know that's been kind of crazy, but it's been kind of good in a sense, because there's been a lot.
Well, it's good for I know a lot of people don't understand this, but it is good for our county because they're bringing in cash money to purchase with. The majority of them are using their cash money. They've got they've had high paying jobs out in other states. And when COVID happened, I thought, oh man, this is it, I'm done. But in contrast, it was like boom. Everybody wanted to get away from cities, away from people.
Right.
We just sold so much to people from out of state, and now they're here, they're paying taxes, they're able to pay the taxes. I, to be honest with you, wish that the county commission might make some changes in maybe given like a grandfather clause in for people who have lived here longer and have homesteaded here for years, to have a tax break above and beyond green belt, tax break for everyone who owns over 15 acres. But I really wish the county commission might consider giving some tax breaks to people who've lived here all their lives, because these prices have gone up. They've really risen, and it's hard for people here locally to pay that extra tax amount.
Sure is.
But it's caused the value of homes to go up, and I would like to talk about that some in just a minute.
All right, because I know the people that have moved in here, they were used to paying higher taxes, higher property taxes, and everything. And then when they come here, it's like, oh wow,
wow, yeah.
And so that's why they have that extra money.
Yes.
I mean that's a good thing. I'm not critical of that. I mean, and most of the people that I have met from out of state have been wonderful people, and they actually have been ones that have either driven through or happened to come meet friends or family and say, well, we like this place.
Yes. And they want it, they really do want it to stay like it is because that's what they like about it.
Right.
And as long as they remember that the reason that they came here was because it is the way that it's always been, and hopefully they'll be prepared to accept our ways and do things our way, the way we've always done it. But they may bring some good ideas too. We need to listen.
That's true. The ones I've talked to personally, they're great people. They're trying to get out of things and come over here and like you say, they like the place, and that's why they're here.
Right.
Well, you mentioned about some things about what homeowners should know and learn ahead of time. Let's go ahead and get into that, because a lot of people, when they go buy a home, if it's already built, they may say, well, we like this and we'll just take it, or they have their preconceived ideas of what they want in a house, and they don't think about maybe where the property is located, what they might need, what they might not need, things like that. So let's go ahead and get started.
Well, that's why you have a realtor. These folks who buy online, sight unseen, they don't have the benefit of an expert to lead them down the path of home ownership, and to be able to explain to them all the things they need to know about being homeowners. Also, we have a lot of first-time homeowners, or people who would like to be first-time homeowners, but just don't know how to go down that path. And so that's what realtors like myself, brokers, are here to help them maneuver that a little bit with them, get them in line with getting pre-qualified. That's the first step. Always get pre-qualified. Find someone that can help you. If you're a first-time home buyer, you want to get with a lender that can do that kind of loan and can walk you along that as well. If you're looking for land, you want to go with probably a credit union such as River Valley Ag Credit, because they do more land and farms. If you want to just buy a fixer-upper, you probably want to go with a local bank that can work with you on a like a traditional loan that you can purchase the home and then also borrow extra money to fix it up if you needed to. Or if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't want to go down that path typically, because that's going to cost you more money up front, and most young folks don't have that extra money saved up. A lot of old folks don't either. But there's lots of different options out there, and one of the first things I want you to think about is, I printed this up for us, and it says if you can say yes to these, you might be ready to buy a home, to be a homeowner. And that is, will you be staying put for a while? Does your fur baby or actual baby need a backyard? Do you enjoy watching the DIY projects and stuff on TV that shows you how to do DIY projects? And have you been up late nights scrolling homes and searching for homes online because it's something that interests you? It's time to make that plan to move from being a renter to being a homeowner, if you can answer yes to these. So after you answer yes to that, we have this is a timeline. It's talking about how many months before moving in. It's like, how long does it take for the process to take place? And so it's 6 to 8 months before moving in. And then you have to think about narrowing down where you want to be, and how, like, getting pre-approved for a mortgage is the first step. You have to have a pre-approval letter to be able to make an offer nowadays you must have a pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
That is G. Then finding a home would be O, and then we can go. And once we get those two things going, so make sure before you even call a realtor, or if you don't know how to get a pre-approval letter, call your realtor, like myself. I'd love to hear from you, and ask them, how do I get pre-approved? Which direction do I need to go? And it's going to depend on how you answer certain questions about that. So then, at that point, you find a real estate agent, and then you start the house hunt after you've been pre-approved, okay? And then it's going to matter if you want to go with an FHA, USDA, all those governmental loans. You need to have a 620 credit score at least. If you don't have a 620 credit score, we need to work with a mortgage person to help you understand how to pay down, in what order to pay down. And believe it or not, you might say, oh, well, if I get my tax return, I can pay down my debt that I'm owing so that I can be a homeowner. Don't do that. Wait until you talk to a mortgage person about that, because it matters whether you've got money in reserve. The underwriters are going to look at how much money you have in reserve versus how much money you owe, and your debt to credit ratio. And so when they look at your actual credit score and see what your actual ability to purchase is, then they can lead you in the right direction to do that. And so I would definitely want to do that. And this is talking about increasing the gap in family wealth. This is actually saying that, this is showing being a homeowner versus being a renter. What it actually benefits you, and we want you to be benefited by the increase in your assets. And you'd be surprised. It helps on your home insurance, your car insurance. Having good credit and being a homeowner affects your credit score for your insurance score, and different things like that. But people are scared right now because they think that the interest rates are too high. This graph shows that historically, and over the last 30 years, these are the mortgage rates from 1971 to 2022. And you can see this is the median line of 7.76%. This is the line right here. You can see how that over the years it's been much higher, and how that we're down here at 2022. Right here at 2022, we're just getting back up here to the median line. So this is the average that it has been over all these years. But everybody's freaking out because they wanted 1% interest, or they want 2%,
Yeah.
And my daughter was very lucky. She bought a couple of years ago, and she used USDA and got like 1% interest. It was cheaper than a car loan, and she lucked up, But now we're back up at 7%, which is not an enormous amount because it's been up to here. You'll remember 1988. Ronnie and I bought our first house. We paid 14.75% interest.
Wow.
And we were so tickled because it had been like 23%. We had friends who had paid 23% to get a home. So when you think about 7%, I'm going, that's not bad, because it's half what I paid whenever I bought in 88. So don't let this scare you, because this is about normal. And I talked to a mortgage broker today who said that typically with an FHA loan, depending on not everyone's the same. It's going to depend on your credit history. It's going to depend on your credit score, things like that. But typically around 5.5% for an FHA loan right now, and a traditional type loan in the 7s. So, it's not too bad. But, just don't let things scare you, because here's the median home prices. These are the median home prices projections they're projected to continue to rise. to go up home prices. So if you bought now at the 7%, the chances are of the asset that you're going to gain by the value of the home going up is very good. Okay,
right.
So that's my little files now, my little show that I want you all to know that it's not too late to buy a home. It's not that scary. It's not over. And you're getting an income tax rebate probably, or a return, and you need to make use of it. So I suggest buying a home if you can.
Well, it's always good to have a home because you have an asset there that it can never get any worse than it was. And it'll always increase.
Well, we hope that, I remember back in 2008 when the bubble burst and everybody's saying, oh, that bubble's going to burst again. But it's not going to be like that, because the banks, even though we've had some trouble with a couple of banks here lately, they were not, it's not like it's happening everywhere. It's not something to be afraid of here, because whatever you've got in the bank, of course, is protected by the FDIC, and that you can, be secure in the monies that you have in the bank. It may tighten down what they're willing to let you purchase, and you may have to give them a little bit more information about yourself so that they can feel comfortable giving you that money. But they should make sure that all people who borrow money are able to pay it back.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing for all of us. So
because we wind up paying that.
Right.
Eventually.
The taxpayers will end up paying that if they had to be bought out. But I don't foresee that happening right now.
No.
I think that a lot of this is just kind of scare talk, because they're trying to get that recession down by simply talking about recession. So they're trying to get people to slow down on the buying to keep that recession from happening, and they're using the media to do that.
Oh, they sure are. They sure are.
It's gonna be okay. I think it'll be okay. Don't hold me to that.
A lot of people, when they look at, especially around here in property, since our water systems, both here in Bledsoe County and Sequatchie County, are limited, a lot of people may not understand about septic tanks and whether land can perk or not. And there's a lot of things. Before you actually buy a piece of property, you really need to know those things, because it wouldn't do you any good.
In buying property, bare land, you need to, of course, make your purchase contingent upon the property being able to park. You'll need to know how many bedrooms that you want the home to be that you're putting on the property. You may want to just do a soils map of the property, which will cost you around $350 if it's not wooded. If it's wooded, it may be around $450 to get a soils map done. That's where they dig the holes. They find out like what kind of soil you have in that particular piece of property, and they'll map it out for you. They want you to kind of show them where you think you might want to build the home and where you'd want your field lines to be. And then they'll usually do a half acre to an acre of the land if you want that to happen. But to buy a septic permit is $500. You have to go online now. You have to make application for it, and typically Justin Green will require you to have that soils map before he'll even go out and look at the property and do a permit for you. So it's probably best for you to just go ahead and do a soils map if you're not planning on building soon, because that permit that Justin gives you is only good for a couple of years. So you don't want that to expire and waste that money.
Right.
So just do you a soils map. It'll save you the money of doing of buying that permit, and then you'll know what kind of soil you've got to work with.
Right, and you don't want soil that's going to flood and and have water in your house and always have water if you built it in the wrong place.
Well, now before I sell land, I always pull the flood zone. The flood zone map is at my disposal. I pull the flood zone, and we can tell if it's in the 100-year or 500-year flood zone, and that's easy enough, but once you get that soils map done, they can kind of tell you. Now, you can buy a piece of property that is in the flood zone but has a higher piece of land, like up on a hill, what have you, and all we have to do is have it surveyed to show that it's above the floodplain, and you can build the house and not have to have the flood insurance, because flood insurance is expensive. It's a hunk of money, and so if you can build the house above that plane, then it can be surveyed and you can do that.
Right, because I know near where I live, and I don't know why, but this property got put on the floodplain, and I'm thinking it's never flooded. It's not even the ditch might get full from a heavy rain, but it's never flooded. But for some reason, it's on the flood map.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a reason for it.
Well, I mean, I assume that the state surveyors decided that there was a potential there at some point. And you can always, if it's in the flood zone, you can buy the flood insurance if you are required to do so. But if you borrow money, you're going to pay because the bank will require you to have that flood insurance if it's in that flood zone.
Right, because there's a lot of just little things. You think you just go get your loan, build your house, and
it's not that. It's
but
not
no, there's a lot of little
yeah.
bitty things you got to put in place.
Yes, and in Dunlap, of course, you all have zoning that we don't have in Bledsoe County. Each county is different. Bledsoe County doesn't have a planning commission. We don't have zoning. People can come here and build a house out of tires or a house out of straw bales. There's no restriction on what you can do here in Bledsoe County. But in Dunlap, that's a different story. You have to jump through a few hoops and meet
really,
those requirements.
Zoning and planning is really a good thing, because if you like to sleep at night and somebody wants to open a diesel shop and work third shift next door to you, there's good things to it. I know some people fuss sometimes when they can't quite do what they want to. They say, well, it's my property, why can't I do? Well, sometimes there's reasons for that.
Restrictions may be on the deed, even if you're not in a zoned community. Like in Bledsoe County, I say we don't have zoning and we don't have planning commission, but you do need to look at the deed before you're purchasing and make sure that it's not a restricted property, because the seller can restrict it. The 3 sellers before you could have restricted it on the deed against mobile homes, certain animals, being able to have commercial business, like you were talking about, the diesel shop or whatever. Those things can be restricted on the deed, even if it's not restricted by the community.
And by the way, I have friends that have a diesel shop. I'm not fussing at y'all. That's just an example, okay? Just an example.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
But what are some changes you've seen over the years in real estate that have changed? Maybe laws or restrictions or anything?
Well, of course, different counties have different zoning. Different counties may bring in different kinds of laws, especially commercial. And I think that, like you said, zoning and restrictions and covenants can be a good thing. They can also be harmful if they are overly cumbersome.
Yeah.
Especially for business owners in a city. If you make it too hard for someone to be a business owner, then they're not going to come to your community, and you're going to miss out on that tax money. So you need to really think about what you're doing, and it needs to be fair for everyone. If you say a property is going to be commercial as a city, and you say, okay, this is zoned commercial, then in my opinion, the city needs to give fair service to every property that they say is commercial, be it sewer, water, whatever the situation might be. And I've run into that problem before. But the thing is, we have to change, or we die.
Right.
You can't stay the same. It gets stagnant. People coming in here, yes, it's changing. We have new neighbors, we have new people involved, but they can bring new ideas. They can bring new money into the community. They can, they can be excited. And those of us who have done the same thing over and over again and wish someone else would come in and take the reins and do, well, they can add a lot. And but mainly, pretty much, real estate's pretty much the same. Over the years, we as realtors have to now pass tests. We have to do so many hours of continuing education, which is good. And
is that yearly continuing?
It's a continuing education that has to be done within a 2-year period. We have to pay errors and omissions insurance. We have to make sure that everything's done accordingly to the state and federal guidelines. So and I think that having those mandates, I think it's good because, it's no longer buyer beware. We are held to a certain standard, and I think realtors should be held to a standard. If we don't meet that standard, that there's, that there are certain ways for the consumer, to make sure that, that we do fairly, morally, and ethically do business.
Right, because you wouldn't want to have a realtor to, just because they want to make a sale, do a quick sale,
Lie.
say, hey, and then the homeowner find out, well, oh man, we've got a big mess here, and they didn't tell us this, and then they get mad at the realtor.
Yes, and likewise, this if I want people to understand, you have a buyer's agent and you have a seller's agent. Now, if say for instance I list your property today, then chances are I'm not going to be the realtor that sells your property. It's going to be another agent. That'll be the buyer agent. Okay, they will represent, and the state of Tennessee affords individuals the right to have their own agency, or I myself could step back as a facilitator and simply do the paperwork, but I could not ethically represent you as the seller and someone else as the buyer, both to the same degree.
Right.
So I would step back as a facilitator between the two of you, simply do what I'm instructed to do, and not be a dual agent, because you can't serve God and mammon. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't, so it's best not to serve either one. Step back and be a facilitator, and just do what you're instructed to do, and not give your personal opinion or any instruction to either side. But if the buyer, let's say I represent you as the seller, and the buyer wants their own representation, it doesn't cost them any more to have their represent, because basically you would pay me a commission for selling the home, and I would split that commission with the buyer's agent.
Oh, okay.
So they are not charged for being represented from a buyer's side of it.
Oh, that's interesting. Excuse me.
A lot of people don't understand that, but that's...
No, I can see where a lot of people could get confused on that and not quite understand it. Because to them, I guess they look at it, well, that's more money, but...
But it's not more money, because you're paying the commission to the buyer's... I mean, the seller's agent gets the commission from you, the seller, and you just split it.
Yeah.
It's a split situation.
So, that... and I also, I guess I guess this is a negative, but when the economy drops down, do you get into situations where they're cutthroat realtors want to... Like if, for example, 2 or 3 realtors knew that one person was actually looking, and one of them might say, well, hey, I can get you this same property for this amount, and that, back and forth. Do you ever run across that?
Well, that can happen if you had an ethical, person who was doing that kind of business. That can happen, and that's why we have contracts. And that's why we have standards. Our MLS association has certain rules of conducting business, and so an agent can basically take a complaint out on another agent if they've done something that's in an unethical way.
Oh, I see.
So then you know, there are certain things you can do, and it's going to depend on the ethics and morals of the person who's selling and buying as well. You know, and so we're not allowed, if as a buyer's agent, say for instance you had a buyer and I said, well, don't worry, I'll give you back some money, you know, or I'll split my commission. You can't do that. And so that you can lose your license doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that. So you know, people don't understand that, because some people have paid back some dividends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you don't want to. You know, you don't want to be guilty of that practice.
No, that would that's not good. And now you mentioned earlier about some people have found you on social network.
Yes.
So you do have a web page out there.
I have a web page. It's Collier, Realty.com. And you can contact me there. You can see everything that is listed on the Chattanooga MLS on my website. I also have access to other MLSs like Knoxville, and I'm also a member of the Upper Cumberland MLS. And so if I list properties, it would be seen on all of those MLSs. So it's kind of a big circle. And of course, we can always go on Realtor.com. I always suggest people do their searches on Realtor.com because it updates every 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to see what's on the market and get more in-depth information, go to my website and go to the MLS for Chattanooga. And Chattanooga covers Sequatchie, Bledsoe, all of the Sequatchie Valley area and surrounding counties as well. And so you can go in there and look directly at the MLS, or if you want more information on what you've seen on Realtor.com or any of the websites, Trulia, Zillow, that's where they all go, Homes.com, or any of those big, websites. You can call me and say, hey, Michelle, I want some more information, and I can email you the MLS listing so that you'll have additional photos, and you'll have more of you'll have a map, and you'll be able to, see more of the write-up about the actual property.
I know I'm all the time getting things from this one particular person. I think they're out of Chattanooga that has a picture. I guess it's a Google Maps picture. It's old because the flower beds are no longer there, and they keep wanting to buy my property, and I keep I just throw it away because it's not for sale.
Right. But they want to cutthroat you. When you get those things in the mail, throw them things away, because they don't. They're not going to give you a full price on that property. They don't know what your property is worth, and a local agent like myself, I can do a comparative market analysis for land or homes. I can pull up what has sold in the last year and tell you what other properties in your area have sold per acre, and be able to get you hopefully more if you're trying to sell, and be able to get you a more fair market value on the properties that you have available. Well,
I know one person called me one time, and I wasn't interested in selling, still not interested. So I just gave them an astronomical price because I knew they weren't going to go. And they said, well, we can't do that. I said, well, good. I said, I'm not going to sell. So,
yeah.
They haven't called me back.
Surprisingly, those things come to me too. And I'm a realtor, so I get those all the time. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, it's really low prices, and they just want to take advantage of people.
Yeah, and no.
I know. It's crazy.
Well, now, other than like houses and property, what else do you sell? Are there other areas are there certain areas you just list properties? Or
no, I'm licensed for the entire state of Tennessee, and so I can sell anywhere. I just actually sold my daughter's house in Coreyton, Tennessee, which is above Knoxville. I just got that sold. So it sold within 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it doesn't matter. I can list properties for sale anywhere, and I represent buyers, and I'll travel 2 hours away to show properties. And I just sold one in McMinnville to some friends of ours, and we traveled all over to Manchester, Winchester,
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere, looking for those properties. But I can pull them up off off of the websites and make the appointments for the buyers to go in and look. And they do need a realtor with them. You can't just go on people's property.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to say again, if you are interested, please get pre-qualified. I know a lot of people find it insulting that I say, I'm sorry, I can't show you property until you are pre-qualified. You wouldn't want someone coming into your home that could not purchase.
Right.
We don't want a looky-loo. We don't want people in there just scoping out the properties just to
Right.
see what there is to see in a home. And as a seller, you wouldn't want that. You would want only interested and really serious people to be able to walk through your home. And so, the first thing that we need to do is get you pre-qualified. And it's not something, that's an insult to you to say, well, I don't think you've got the money. No, it's
right.
that we want to make sure that you are serious and that you really are planning on looking at properties. Because, you can, and it's always a good idea to have an agent to be the one to show your home, because we can look up reverse information on people who call. We can make sure that they give us information and license numbers and things like that, so that people are not at risk
Right.
by opening up a door to someone they don't know. And so it's always safer to have a realtor.
Right, because you can do that background check and a lot of
Exactly.
things.
We can do a lot of things to make sure that people are safe to try and, I'm not saying we can stop everything, but, the chances of someone just walking into your home and taking advantage of you or harming you in some way, don't open that door.
Right.
Don't be so eager, because they'll think you're eager. If you put a for sale sign in your yard, don't open that door, for someone that you don't know
Right.
coming in. Yeah.
Well, is there anything we haven't covered you'd like to?
I just want to say, inventory's low, house prices are high. It's time to list your property if you want to sell and make a change. And it's a good time to purchase still, because the median price is still a reasonable amount, at around anywhere from 5 to 7%. And if you need help or guidance, please give me a call, because I know I can help you. I've been doing it a long time, and I think I can help.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for being with us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Well,
It
you're
was
more than
interesting.
welcome.
Thank you.
And again, we're thankful to BTC Fiber for allowing us to have this program. And you can see this program in BTC Fiber's YouTube page, as well as BTC Fiber's Cable Channel 18. And again, we're thankful for Needful Things General Store. Go by and see those fine folks down there. And so until next time, have a great day. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.